Welcome to Sivako, Road to Avatar. My name is Shaun Alexander and I'll be your guide to the world of Pandora and beyond. To support this show, head on over to www.patreon.com/avatarpod, where you can become a patron and gain access to exclusive content. Joining me today on today's episode, I am joined by a very special guest. Special guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. My name is Eddie, and I am from the RollBack podcast. Thank you for having me, Sean.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you. And yeah, we're going to be talking about a very special topic, a very prominent topic at the moment, because obviously we have just had the Oscars last weekend. So we'll be catching up with that and talking about what happened on the evening. But before that, I wanted to ask you a couple questions. The first of which is, when did you first see Avatar?
I saw the original or the one that just came out.
Let's go for the original first.
The original, I saw it the same weekend it premiered, but I've got a really quick, slightly funny thing. Um, on this side, there's a something called the NFL football. My team's the Dallas Cowboys. Their opening day, they had the premiere of the Avatar trailer, right? It was on this massive, massive screen, must be like 70, 80 feet wide, like huge screen. They did the trailer of Avatar. And I remember watching it and thinking, that movie looks amazing. I can't believe it will bomb because no one's going to love it but me. And I'm so glad I was wrong because it's great.
Man, I feel like everyone sort of had a very similar experience as well. Like, what I feel like once people saw it, they were like, "Oh, now I get it." But beforehand, everyone was sort of being the doubter, and obviously, I get it as well because obviously, it's so wild to think how different it is and how like risky it was at the time.
No, definitely, because it's. I mean, he waited years to for the technology to catch up. Like that's insane. Even with this one, they had to develop the tech for motion capture for underwater. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. Like he went and just invented a whole new way of filming because he was like, I don't want to work with strings. I want to film underwater. So I'm first of all going to teach them all how to hold their breath for like 10 minutes, and then we're gonna then we're gonna figure out how to film underwater, make it look good.
Well, James Cameron's always been one for doing things the hard way. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. He doesn't do things in half measures at all. So yeah, I'm assuming you have seen the new one as well.
Yes, sir. Yeah, same thing. Opening weekend.
Yeah. And have you got a like favorite moment from either of the films?
Um, God, do I have a favorite moment? I This can sound cliche. I loved it when Sully's kids were kind of standing up for each other at the beach. I don't know. There's something about like, okay, these are not the siblings that hate each other's guts like every movie. They're a pack, like they are a family. They're a unit. You know.
Mm. You know what? Yeah,
So
I kind of like that. I liked that there's that sort of element of them being like, "Hey, no, we're actually a family who like each other."
yeah, no, we're the new age family.
Yeah, it's refreshing. I quite enjoy something like that.
Well, because it's a trope nowadays. Like have the brother and the sister that hate each other's guts.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's and I like that Cameron doesn't play into the boring side of tropes. He knows which ones are exciting for people and which one works the best.
I agree. James Cameron, if nothing else, is a storyteller.
So, as I previously mentioned, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Academy Awards. And just a few nights ago, the Oscar nominations became winners. So, first of all, Eddie, I did want to ask you, are you interested in the Oscars a lot?
Yes and no. It's kind of a two-headed coin. Part of me is like, I love the fact that certain films that don't get talked about enough get recognition when it comes to like awards and people being like, oh, you know what, maybe we should watch it. On the other side of the coin, though, there are times where it's like, okay, this film did deserve recognition, but it wasn't even nominated. Like, you know what I mean? I think it's a two-sided coin at times.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like you get such a range because, yeah, you do have these films which are clearly geared towards being like, hey, we're here just to win awards and grab the voters' attention. And then there's other films where you think, you actually were worth an award but get nothing at all.
Yes, definitely. And actually, if you don't mind me asking, can I start by asking you for your input on the controversy that had to do with the Oscars?
Yeah, of course. Which one do you want to talk about?
So for best supporting actress, I was not aware of any controversy until after the fact. Um, Jamie Lee Curtis winning for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, so from my understanding, the favorite in the category was Angela Bassett for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and obviously Jamie Lee Curtis won on the night. But I think there's been a lot of discussion about her maybe not deserving the award as much as Angela Bassett, but also Stephanie Shu, who's also in Everything Everywhere All at Once. So what's your thoughts on Jamie Lee Curtis in that film?
Um, Entertaining, yes, but she didn't feel like a supporting character as much as like Stephanie did. But another thing I did want to bring up though is that the controversy when it comes to, and I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Andrea Riseborough.
Oh, that was for the best actress category. Yes.
No, was it for Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, to Leslie. My apologies. I thought it was for supporting actress. My
No, no,
apologies.
no. That's
Um.
cool. Yeah, that was such a weird like situation because her nomination came out of nowhere.
Okay. Okay. Yes. But no. Well, we can talk about best supporting actress first, and then the other one.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, but what did you think? Did Jamie Lee Curtis deserve this win? Did she even deserve the nomination, considering how small her part was? What do you think?
So I think it's really interesting. I've been thinking a little bit more about it since she won the awards, and I do think people were maybe under representing how big her role is in the movie. Now, obviously, she takes like a major role within the first like half hour because she's playing the like the tax agent who's sort of causing a bit of a ruckus. She becomes like an antagonist, but there's also a whole section early, like towards the end, which is about Michelle Yao's character finding her connection to the like reconnecting with her daughter, but also reconnecting to Jamie Lee Curtis' character. And I think people are underselling that role a little bit and saying it's not as important as it was. But there is like some like emotion behind it in some ways. I know it's the hot dog finger universe, but there was moments in that were quite powerful. I thought.
It's funny. You just reminded me of something. I remember when I watched the movie, the hot dogs fingers were the only thing that threw me out of the movie. I love the rock sequence. Even the rock where we're just having a mother daughter moment and they're just talking stuff out. I love that.
Mm.
But the hot dog fingers, somehow I think that's the line that I draw. It's hot dog fingers.
No, I can understand that. But I totally understand people saying, yeah, like obviously. So yeah, I feel like Stephanie Shu might feel a little bit disappointed to not be receiving the award after all, because her role is so important to that film. And yeah, that mother daughter relationship is the main aspect of the film, which always stands out to me.
Well, to me, it's not just that. It's also the fact that this she was entrusted to play not just the daughter, obviously, the important role, an awkward role, but also Joe Butapaki, the apparently the most dastardly villain to have ever dastardly in
Mm.
the multiverse. Um, and she played it off like beautifully. She played a master of the universe that's just tired of existence. She played it essentially like Rick, but like if he actually went bad.
Yeah, you know what? It did actually make me think of that, and I was thinking as well, like this is what I sort of in my head had had what Kang would be like in for the Avengers of this person who has just seen every possible reality and is just bored of it now.
I'm not just bored with it. Like this reality is so bad that I need to destroy everything about it. And
Yeah,
here it is in this. It wasn't a donut. It was a bagel.
man, yeah, just like such a performance all over. I was blown away by her. But also, I do think Angela Bassett's performance for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is really strong as well, and I can understand why people are a little upset with that one missing out.
Well, not just that. I think someone pointed out the fact that, and I mean, I don't feel like I'm necessarily fully qualified to have this conversation in depth, but someone did point out the fact that like roles, like dramatic roles that give an actor a chance to earn an Oscar, because we can look at a movie and say Oscar worthy or not. Like to some degree, we can look at it and be like, okay, this is a premise that's going to require a certain degree of acting that may result in an award. Uh, there were discussions that, like Angelina Jolie, not Angelina, I'm sorry, Jennifer Lawrence, for example, gets offered these roles often that are Oscar caliber. Other actresses, they're offered more commonly than actresses of color, for example. So it's kind of sought out as like, how many more chances is she really going to get to earn an Oscar? I don't know if this was her first nomination. Actually, no, I think it was her first nomination, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah, I think it was. Because I remember hearing it was like there was like 16 first time Oscar nominees this year, which is unreal. Like that's crazy to have so many new people nominated.
Wow, that's insane. And I mean, it's not like she phoned it in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. It's not like just because it's a comic movie means you go light. She did her work.
Yeah, yeah, and I think as well, it did play into the fact that obviously this film was such a big tribute to Chadwick Boseman, and obviously the Oscars a couple of years ago failed to sort of recognize him when they had the chance to in his like final performance.
That's right. That's right. Well, did you ever see the video when Black Panther lost movie of the year to the Green Mile? Sorry, the Green Book.
Mm.
There's a famous little tidbit of Chadwick Boseman kind of looking at Michael B. Jordan like, okay, the white
Yeah,
savior movie gets it. Cool,
I mean, my
cool.
favorite clip from that year is when it's a few the British broadcasters are speaking to Spike Lee afterwards and asking him what he thought of Green Book winning Best Picture, and he just says, "Oh, not quite my cup of tea." And I, I just loved. He threw in the British accent for him as well, and Spike Lee, like if you're going to ask Spike Lee about what he thinks of Green Book, you know what he thinks of Green Book already.
I've never had the opportunity to ask Spike Lee. May I ask you, what does he think of the Green Book?
Oh, he hates it so much because
How
obviously,
come?
like it was the same year he was up. He was up for
Oh,
Best
Black
Picture. Yeah,
Klansman.
and obviously you consider like comparing the two is it's other ends of the spectrum.
Definitely. Well, also I think there's a problem with the whole, and maybe we're better now. The whole white savior complex. Because initially I didn't see the issue with the Green Book. I was like, oh, it's just a story of two friends. But when you dive into the little parts, the little things about it, it kind of makes sense why certain people dislike it, and that's understandable. You know.
Yeah, no, I totally understand it, and I do remember seeing Green Book back at film festival when it first came out, and yeah, everyone in the audience enjoyed it. But I think the more that people like look back on it, they can understand it more to be like, no, this is like just filled with tropes that we should be way past now.
Yeah, I agree. I concur. Um, so sorry we went off on a bit of a tangent going
No,
to the left of that.
hey, look, no, this is what the Oscars talks are all about. You got so many different areas to cover. So you know what? Let's move on to a new category. Was there any particular awards that really stood out to you as being like this person really deserved to win and they did?
I don't know if I want to jump on the bandwagon here, but Brandon Fraser for The Whale, a remarkable performance in a remarkably unremarkable movie.
Yeah, this is like it was an interesting category for me because I enjoyed the sort of. I say there was three front runners. There was two, and Colin Farrell was there too because I love Banshees of Inisherin. But yeah, between Brendan Fraser and Austin Butler, it was like a heated race. They kept swapping who was winning every single different award ceremony. But yeah, like Brendan Fraser's performance is just incredible, and I love the guy. I love his sort of story and how he's been able to make that comeback, and I just hope that he's able to push on from there and continue to do work he wants to do.
Definitely. I mean, fan support, industry report. I know there's a big thing, and he wasn't. There's no black book. There is no like official list. But let's be honest, Brendan Fraser was blacklisted from Hollywood for a while. He could only get bit parts, supporting parts. Not. not something befitting the man who led the mummy.
Mm.
Not something befitting a man of his stature and of his talent. So for him to pull this incredible comeback to go from blacklisted to winning the Oscar, I mean that's insane. And he has won so many awards, so many.
Yeah. And I do think they are deserved. As you said, like The Whale's an interesting one. It is one of those films where the performance is so much of this film that without his like how good of a performance he does, the film would fall apart.
Definitely. Quick curiosity question: have you seen No Sudden Move?
I haven't, no.
Brendan Fraser is in it. He's not the main actor, bear in mind. He's only in it for maybe 5 minutes. Worth a watch if you ever have the chance. Just giving a recommendation.
Oh, nice.
But so, who do you think deserved it more, just based on performance alone? Fraser versus Butler. Who and why?
I was always going to give it to Frasier. I think the performance he gives in The Wow is so raw, and it it's like very vulnerable, and I can tell that there's a lot of like real emotion thrown behind it. That's not to say that Austin Butler didn't do a fantastic job by being possessed by Elvis. Um, I've just been seeing people saying that he's just getting ratatouilleed by Elvis at this point, and I kind of agree. It feels like I'm watching, yeah, like a little puppet boy at times play out his Elvis fantasy, and I really do actually enjoy the performance in Elvis. I think it's great, but I think just Frasier gives something a lot more to me.
I completely agree. And that's because I wanted to love Elvis. Like I went into this movie like, okay, kind of like Bohemian Rhapsody, where I want to uh, get to know the artist a little more by knowing their story. And Austin Butler, oh man, the kid, he's a kid. He's only what, 20? If that? No, he's like 20.
He's in his
He's
like
31?
I know, right? He's older than you think.
What? I thought my god, he looked wow,
Baby
okay.
faced.
Yes. I mean, he would play a great Jason Todd. He'd be a
Mm.
great Jason Todd. Wow, I did not see that coming. Huh. Okay.
I just think Austin Butler's got like a long career ahead of him. This is definitely not the last time we'll see him in a role that maybe gets him a nomination. So it this definitely felt like the year that they were rewarding people who it felt like they were past due.
You know what? That's true. That's true. Between Jamie Lee Curtis, Ki Hu Kwang, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Hmm.
Michelle Yeoh,
Michelle Yao.
yeah, thank you. Brandon Fraser, you're right. They feel like four actors and actresses that were like, you know what, they've put in the work because Michelle has been in the industry for quite some time.
Mm. Yeah, she's worked her way up there, and th- especially for like a role like this where it all you know she takes up so much attention in that movie and has to do a lot of different things with it. She's playing multiple Evelyns, and she kills it every single time. Every single version of it is perfect.
You know, that's very true. I didn't consider that. She wasn't just playing one version of the character. She was playing Evelyn, but this version, and then Evelyn that version, then Evelyn this version. Like it, you're right. I did not take that into consideration.
Yeah, and I think as well, you think of someone, that it fits. You want to find someone who fits the role perfectly, and I think she did for that role. You can't. It's hard to find an actress that fits a role so perfectly.
You know, honestly, I can't imagine anyone else in that role now. Like it's like a Wolverine performance from like Hugh Jackman. You can't really see anyone else in the role.
There was an interesting fact that I feel like I remember reading that was originally the role was written for Jackie Chan to play it because it was going to be a man in the role.
Really?
I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. I'll have to double check that one, but um, yeah, I'm pretty sure originally he was offered the role originally. Yeah.
You know, that reminds me that I know there was another movie. I think it was. I want to say it was Die Hard with a Vengeance. Was originally written for. God, I think Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they ended up swapping the script, changing some minor details, and making it a Die Hard film. Um, and it was such. I mean, if it was just any other throwaway character, it becomes nothing. But because it's a Die Hard film, people remember it. And it's a Die Hard with Avengers is a great film. The best accidents happen. So, wow. I imagine Jackie Chan would have killed it, but I'm so glad the role went to her.
Yeah, and I think it. Yeah, I'm so glad we get to see her finally like get that recognition that she's deserved for so long. So, as I am an Avatar podcast, I thought it best I bring up the Avatar nominations. So, first of all, Avatar did win an Oscar the other night. It won for Best Visual Effects, which I don't think comes as a surprise, really, does it, Eddie?
I mean, if there was ever anyone to win in that category, like, let me see. Let me pull this up. Who else was nominated for this poor category in this year? Top Gun Maverick, no. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, no. The Batman, no. All Quiet. This was a walkthrough. Like there was no competition. Avatar: The Way of Water was gonna win this.
It feels like it's playing a different game to everyone else in a way when you
Yeah.
consider like the sort of like things that Avatar's achieving with visual effects compared to the others. And not to put a dampers on like Black Panther at all, but the underwater scenes are just opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of quality, I would say.
No, I agree. Well, also, there's a lot of reports coming out about how bad Marvel is when it comes to the CGI lately because of the amount of stress they're putting on small FX studios. So, you go from, I guess, a capitalist view as far as like squeeze as much as you can as quickly as you can versus Avatar: The Way of Water, which was made, and I know I'm saying this, it was made with love, and it shows.
You know what? That I feel like that's one thing that people can't claim about Avatar is that that it was made just to like please moneymakers because there is so much love put into every aspect of it.
Definitely. There's a there's a rumor that James Cameron made them like apply the special effects in 9 hours worth of footage, and then he cut down those 9 hours down into 3 hours. Do you think that's true? And would you watch a 9 hour cut of The Way of Water?
I mean, of course, I'm going to watch the 9 hour cut of Way of Water. That's a silly. That's first of all, that's a silly question. I would be. I feel like I'm legally obligated to watch anything that that would be have the Avatar name on it. If it's true or not, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. 13 years worth of making time between the first one and the second. I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a 9 hour finished visual effects cut somewhere along the line.
I would be so up for watching it. That would be a very expensive 4K Blu-ray, but I would be down.
That'd be like its own box set just for that.
You know what I Okay, so Sean, how old are you?
I'm 30.
Oh, okay, so you are of my people. You might remember this. Do you remember way back in the day when VHSs, if the movie was really long, like Titanic, it came with two VHS tapes?
Oh, I don't know if you know about him, but there's a Titanic guy on TikTok who collects those two tape VHSs. He has over 1,000 copies.
Okay, see, at some point it goes from like a quirk to a hobby to an unhealthy obsession.
Yeah.
At
I'll,
some point,
I'll have to send you the link for it because it's so hilarious just to see how many copies. He has like just a room and it's just full of them.
please do. My God.
But yeah, like
But
I remember back in the day, yeah, like
yeah.
you would literally have like movies where it's like, please, please switch over the disc or switch over the tape because you've run out of film.
Exactly. Like there's only so much room you can fit on a DVD or a VHS. So I wonder if they did do that 9 hour cut, like are we doing like the double DVD special box set because you need the second DVD? I'm curious.
Yeah, I don't know what the limits are on something like that. And you've got to think something like Avatar is probably quite intense in terms of memory storage as well.
I completely agree. I know when I've downloaded 4K versions of movies, we're talking like, anywhere from 2.5 to 4 gigabytes. And that's for movies with a lot less visual, boom, oomph than Avatar. So, oof, curious.
So in the other categories that Avatar was nominated for, it was in the category of Best Production Design, which it lost to All Quiet on the Western Front. It won in Best Sound, which it lost to Top Gun Maverick, and it was also a Best Picture nominee, where it lost to, as most things did, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Are there any of those categories you felt it might have stood a chance in?
So actually, I was about to ask you the same question. Where, because look, Top Gun Maverick was every middle-aged Anglo male's dream, fever dream. I've still got it, But I respect the people that worked on Top Gun Maverick. Was it a good movie? Yes. But Avatar: The Water, you created a world from the ground up. Like, there's nothing to base yourself off of. You had to start from scratch. And I feel like it deserved best sound and even maybe best production design because, again, it's all original. We know what those uniforms look like from All Quiet on the Western Front. We've seen them before. We know what old Hollywood looked like. We've seen it. So that's Babylon. Elvis, go on YouTube. There's videos on videos. The Fablemans. People are still alive that have seen that. There's no one walking the face of this earth that has ever been to Pandora. I feel like Avatar kind of got shafted, at least in production design, maybe sound. But how about yourself?
I agree on Best Production Design. I think it's at a disadvantage because people don't consider the fact that all the costumes were made, even for the characters that were, you know, added in special effects, like for the VFX. Those actors were still wearing costumes, and there were still objects they were interacting with, which were then added into the film afterwards. Just because the production design is has a nice glossy layer over the top of it doesn't mean it wasn't there at all. And I feel like voters probably fell for that.
I think people, and maybe it's just because they don't work in that explicit category or in that manner. I feel like people don't necessarily respect VFX and design like that unless you're actually there. It's like people who play football, for example, right? Even if you only played high school or college or professional, there's a certain degree of brotherhood amongst people who've done that because hey, you understand the struggle. And I think people don't understand how difficult it is to create something from nothing on a computer unless you've done it before. Other than that, you don't understand the amount of work it takes.
Yeah, and I definitely think the Academy don't realize, and they showed that on the night as well. Because with when the visual effects team from Avatar went up to accept their reward, or like their award, they were basically musicked off after one person gave a small speech, just so Jimmy Kimmel could make a CGI Fridays joke and also harass people with cocaine bear. And it kind of shows what they consider, like, there was like no respect for the visual effects team.
No, well, there's also been I know a controversy as of late with people not really respecting animated film. Do you think there's any merit to that argument?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I love that basically anytime Guillermo del Toro has been like given an award, he's like, animation is real, please guys treat it with respect. Because it feels like a lot of people don't consider it in the same category. They see it as lesser when it's not. It's just as important and just as good.
Definitely, because I mean, there. I think who garnered controversy. I don't know if it was. I think maybe it was last year. I know there was a story of a presenter who said, for the kids, animation for the kids.
Oh, what? Yeah, there was some. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was in last year's Oscar ceremony. I can't remember who said it, but yeah, I remember them mentioning it and sort of being like, "Man, you're like presenting the award and you're telling them they don't matter."
Like, that's a slap in the face. I mean, and it's crazy because, and I saw someone that presented, someone that made a video essay about animation. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was FilmSpeak. A great YouTube channel. If you've never listened to it, FilmSpeak is great. He mentioned that the Academy doesn't respect, or most people in movies, unless you've done it, don't respect animation. And he said that's kind of not fair because animation kind of saved a lot of industries, a lot of entertainment industry during the pandemic because you can't go and film a movie, but the artists can be at home with their tablets and still create these amazing works of film or TV shows. I, South Park didn't slow down. They didn't have to because you can work on that from home. A lot of people have high tech sound booths. The guy who voices Beast Boy from Teen Titans Go, I know not the best Teen Titans, but he has this state of the art thousand upon thousands of dollars sound booth in his hut. Like you said, like this is the most expensive room in the office in my house because this is where I do my art. Even during the pandemic, I could record. I could still make performances. It's worthy of respect.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right. During like the COVID, we literally had films still able to come out because of that. I think things like Turning Red and Encanto were in production at the time, and they were still able to complete it and get them out. And those have proven really popular for Disney, and were unfortunately just dumped on Disney Plus for the most part.
Man, that was not fair. That was not fair. I have this thing against Disney as of late because I feel like they've been dumping on Pixar. Like they haven't been giving Pixar the openings that they deserve.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
well, that started with Soul, didn't it? I think, um, which might have been or was it no? Was it Luca or Soul? It was one of the two.
Well, Luca came out while I believe theaters were still closed. So that's
Mm.
understandable. Like, okay, fair enough. I won't give you flack for that. But Soul exclusively Disney Plus, okay, now we have a problem. And then they let Lightyear off the leash, but unfortunately Lightyear didn't do as well as people were hoping because I don't think anyone predicted that Jurassic World Dominion would be such a monster.
Yeah, yeah, that really kind of took this year by surprise. I know people like dinosaurs, but I didn't realize they still liked them that much. And I'm assuming it was the returning cast that got people more interested in it.
And it's a shame because in that movie, I feel like the returning cast had was given like nothing to do but to collect a paycheck.
Yeah, and I really wish they were given more. Honestly, I feel like there was something in that film was like hidden deep. There is a film in there somewhere.
You just got to cut around Chris Pratt, and there's something there.
Yeah, I feel like most people feel like that recently. Yeah, is there any other like awards from the evening where you felt like was there any that you were surprised by?
Winners of the night? No, I kind of figured. So okay, I'll be honest with you on this one. For Best Picture, I knew Everything Everywhere All at Once would win a lot of awards. I was so sure that either The Fablemans or All Quiet on the Western Front was going to win Best Picture because I thought, okay, we're still in this world where these people value these kinds of movies over others. I'm so happy that Everything Everywhere All at Once won, and it definitely deserved it. But it's kind of one of those things where the trope of like insert World War II film that's pretty good will probably win everything, or inserts older Anglo actor delivering the performance of a lifetime gets nominated. Like you assumed one of those would go through. And the fact that Everything Everywhere All at Once won, good for them.
Yeah, I like that it kind of breaks from that tradition a little bit more. And yeah, things like All Quiet on the Western Front do sort of suggest that the old way is still in place. It reminds me so much of I think 1917 got nominated a few years back, Dunkirk I think as well, and it just sort of like there's a long list of war movies getting that nomination and sort of quietly sitting there being like, I could win this, I could still win this.
Yeah, and they're always going to be in contention. And don't get me wrong, there are some war films that are amazing that do deserve it, like Saving Private Ryan, for example. But it was such a nice surprise. Now, if you don't mind me asking you, did you have legitimate hopes that Avatar: The Way of Water could win Best Picture?
I mean, honestly, it was never going to win Best Picture. It was I, and that's not to say that I don't think it is a great film. I think it is, and it's fantastic. But I think it has the struggle of being that the first Avatar didn't win. If the first one had won, I think it maybe stood more of a chance. The problem is in a year when you have stuff like Everything Ever All at Once, which does so much uniqueness in terms of the story it tells and to do with representation, there's it offers so much more. And also you can kind of see that like Avatar and Top Gun Maverick were kind of competing in the same sort of slot in a way to be like we're the popular choice.
I agree. I agree with you there. You know what I just realized, and it doesn't come to my head, and I don't mean this in a bad way. Everything Everywhere All at Once is very much and also an inclusivity film because it does have the LGBTQ community represented, and I just forgot about that. Like it's how do I say it? It's a great thing for the representation, but also I didn't even notice it because it's like it's such a fantastic story. Everything just blends in so well, and it's great seamless storytelling,
Yeah,
and it's important
it's
because it is inclusive.
yeah, it's seamlessly entered into the film, and the fact that it's in there and doesn't make a huge, it's. I'm trying to think of an example where we've had it previously. I'm going to use Bohemian Rhapsody as the example here because that's a film which puts it in your face about it and handles it very poorly, I'd argue. While Everything Everywhere at Once talks about this subject and the troubles of like being part of that community and not being accepted by your parents, and handles it in a really thoughtful way.
No, you're right. I remember Disney was making a big deal how in Onward there was going to be a same-sex couple and there was going to be a major character that was going to be gay and whatnot, and it turns out to be a cop character that shows up for maybe 2 minutes of the movie, if that. They did it also with Lightyear. I think is the term queer baiting? Is that the right phrase?
Yeah, yeah,
And Everything Ever All at Once does it perfectly, where it's not, as you said, all up in your face about it. It's more or less, no, there's a story, and one, two of the characters happen to be gay,
yeah. It's
and
part of the
scene.
story, and also I think as well that they go back to it as well because obviously they in in the previously mentioned hot dog universe, um, Michelle and Jamie Lee Curtis's character are both are in a relationship in that universe.
That's right. It's not just the daughter.
There you go. Look, they bring it back to be like, no, look, in a universe, you are like your daughter. You are part of this community. You're gay as well. And I think that's something that that's also like a moment in the film where the character has to realize, wait a second, why am I being judgmental of my daughter for this?
And it's great. And I think it's an important movie that other people need to watch, honestly.
Yeah, it's this is the thing. It's really like one of those ones that I recommend people, but I've been trying to figure out the way to explain it to people without trying to scare them off. Because it's if you start just trying to say, by the way, this movie's just gonna it's gonna go crazy. Please just hold on. It's kind of hard to like sell it to someone that way.
Oh God, maybe it should have been called Cocaine Bear. Maybe it's such a batshit crazy premise,
I mean,
but
it's not.
God bless it, it works.
That's it. Yeah, everything it does work, and I'm so pleased it does. So yeah, congrats to them for winning this year, and hopefully in 2 years' time, Avatar 3 will be the one winning the awards. You know what? Let me ask you: do you think that any of Avatar 3, 4, or 5 in the coming 20 decades, or however long it ends up taking to make these, do you think any of them actually have a chance of winning?
Best Picture.
Yeah, sure. I'm pretty sure every year it's going to have best VFX sewn up. So
Um,
I should, yeah. Is there a chance it could win Best Picture?
so let me think. So Avatar 3 is going to be Avatar: The Fury of Fire. Avatar 4 is probably going to be The Strength of the Earth. So 5 will probably be The Way of the Wind. Yeah, I could say I think Avatar 5 probably has a pretty solid shot. If it's the curtain call, I
Mm.
think so. I think so. Let me ask you this. Do you think, because I have heard of some popular fan theories, do you think Jake Sully's character passes away in part 3 and they continue from his son?
Oh, see, this is like one of them things where I've so rarely delved into like fan theories for like 3 onwards because I don't want to set myself too many expectations. But I could definitely see Jake or Natiri um, not making it through 3. I think there's got to be some sort of impact which is going to have an effect on the children, which is that you need to grow up moment.
Oh man, that's gonna be heartbreaking.
It is. It's going to be absolutely awful. I'm going to be crying in the theater.
Ugly tears, bring the tissues.
It's going to be like 4D experience because I would have flooded the theater myself with my own tears. Yeah, it's and we know as well, like for Avatar 4, the plan is that there's going to be a I think 5 or 6 year jump forward. Obviously, the kids are all growing up as well at the same time. So, and yeah, what's going to cause that reason for us to see a 5 year time skip?
um, I'm so curious as to what's going to come next.
And you know what? There is one actually interesting fact is that we are going to have an Oscar winning actress in the next Avatar film, which is very exciting.
Wait, who's someone already been confirmed?
Yeah, Michelle Yeoh is already confirmed for Avatar 3. We did actually think she was going to be in The Way of Water, but she didn't appear, so I guess they were saving her for number 3.
Wow. Oh, huh. Okay, did not confirm that one. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'll take it then. I'm so curious as to what the next ones are going to come. Did Cameron say that Avatars 4 and 5 would depend on how two did? Am I right?
Yeah, originally it was based on how 2 performed, and I think it was that he needed 2 to basically become one of the top 5 grossing films of all time. And yeah, it did that just quite a bit.
It mildly surpassed all expectations.
Yeah,
It's only the third highest grossing film of all time. Okay, don't worry, it's only number three.
I know, right? Like, come on, only 3 out of the top 4, James Cameron. Come on, get better.
Hashtag get good.
Yeah,
And the other one is just like an epic, multi-decade spanning franchise with like, 22 films to build it up. That's all.
and just every actor ever in it as well. Just in case they needed extra people, they were just like, we're just gonna bring all the people back.
I just realized Cameron occupies 3 of the top 4 spots. That's
He
not fair.
he does. So if anyone questions why we're gonna get more Avatar films, just look at that. Honestly, that's the only reason.
The Billy in 2 films. I think he's grossed more than. Has he grossed more than the Harry Potter franchise? I hope not.
I mean,
Uh,
it's probably getting close because I think only one of the Harry Potters is over 1 billion.
Yeah, it was the last one, but I'm kind of curious by franchise. Okay, wait, the MCU is number one. I'm fucking shocked. Uh, no, Avatar is only number 13, but all the other movies have a lot more films.
I was gonna say, like, it's probably what's underneath it in terms of like. a-
Transformers and then Lord of the Rings is above it. But look, here's the average, right? If you average out the films, like how much money they made, so Avatar's average is 2.6 billion. 2.6. Number the second closest to that, and I would dispute this, would be the Avengers franchise with 1.9. I don't think that's fair though. I think that falls within the MCU though. I just want to point that out because they're counting it twice, and I call BS.
Yeah, because they're counting that as like the Avengers, Age of Ultron, and then Infinity War, Endgame, right? Because that's
Yes.
not a franchise. You can't just watch those 4.
Yeah. See. Okay. See. This is where I have a problem with Disney. I feel like they're cheating.
Yeah, they're skewing those numbers just as much as The Rock does for Black Adam.
Oh. God damn it. I really wanted it to work. It was fun, but no one watched it.
No, I saw it and it's a film.
You and Chema would really get along then.
Oh, yeah. So thank you so much. Honestly, it's been such a pleasure to be able to talk about the Oscars and especially the Avatar bits and pieces. Yeah, where's the best place for people to find you?
The rollback, you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. We do also have a YouTube page, the rollback, where you can actually see me do video reviews. And thank you for having me, Sean. Thank you for having me here.
Honestly, it's been a pleasure. And next time we'll get both of you on and we'll have a big chat. I'm sure we've got some fantastic topics we can come up with in the future to discuss.
Oh, definitely. Well, we will find films to review together. No worries about that. Hopefully, we can have you on as a guest on our show soon.
I would absolutely love that. Hell yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you have a lovely day. Speak to you all soon. Goodbye. Thank you for listening. This week's episode is dedicated to our patrons Eric Scrock and Patrick Regal. To become a patron, visit www.patreon.com/avatarpod.